Hello everybody and welcome back. This is going to be our first lesson with our maintenance lesson, which means that we've made it through our first 16 weeks, and so now we are going to do the next 8 months. And so we'll do, this month is going to be 2 lessons. So February, you've already made it through 2 lessons, and then March we'll do 2 more lessons, and then from there on we're only going to be meeting once a month. So hopefully y'all have been making really good lifestyle changes and seeing some success over the last 16 weeks. But I don't want to just stop there. So I want you to keep making these changes and making small steps towards a healthier lifestyle. And that's kind of our goal for you, is to see a healthier lifestyle at the end of this. So today we're going to be talking about what to do when your weight loss stalls. And that's a really hard place to get to. When you feel like that you're making these healthy changes, you're eating like they say you're supposed to be eating, you're exercising more than you had been exercising, and you're just not losing any weight anymore. And that's really frustrating. And so trying to problem solve through that, why are you not losing weight anymore? And so there's a few different reasons why weight loss can stall. And so the first one may be that you've actually lost so much weight already that the amount of calories you're eating is a maintenance amount of calories. So in our story, in our participant guide that we're going to be looking at today, sorry, let me get to it here. Roxanne had lost 12 pounds, and that's an average of 2 pounds a week. And then she started losing a half a pound a week. And then she, during the 8th week, didn't lose any more weight at all. So Roxanne started out weighing 168 pounds. And now that she's lost the weight, she's down to 156. So when she first started out, she needed 1,750 calories. But after the weight loss, she really only needs 1,650 now. And that stinks, because now she doesn't get to eat as much, or she's going to have to start exercising a little bit more. And I know that that can be really challenging as you continue to lose weight, that you're having to change how much you're eating, because you already feel like you've decreased that. And so now here you are and you have to decrease it again. And so that's really hard. But there are ways to cut back, especially for 100 calories. It's easy to find little places that you are eating too much, or easy substitutes that you can change. So with Roxanne, she was doing a 16-ounce coffee with whole milk for breakfast. And so she did cut back on her coffee, but I think that might have been to maybe cut back also on the amount of milk she was using. So she switched to skim milk, and because regular coffee black coffee doesn't have any calories in it. So I think they're trying to point out here that she just reduced the amount of milk she was using, which cut back on her calories. She also started doing band exercises while she watched TV. And so these two things together, she may have been able to cut back about 20 to 30 calories on her coffee. And then she was able to burn an extra 60 to 70 calories. Sorry. And that helped her to get to that 100, which then also started helping her start losing weight again. So, you'll also see on page 4, it gives you a visual of it's kind of a trend of what her weight looked like. She was losing, and then stalled. So that kind of walks you through that. I just lost my paper. Okay. So, to give you a little bit of encouragement, if you do find that your weight loss is stalling, one of the things that I would encourage you to do, I know most of you guys are tracking your stuff on MyFitnessPal, so I would encourage you to go back in and make sure that your weight is accurate on MyFitnessPal, because it will go ahead and self-adjust for you how many calories you need. So you might be getting too many calories. Other things that you can be doing is do like Roxanne did, and like change your milk. So she went from whole milk to skim milk. That's a really big change. You could even just go from like maybe 2% milk to 1% milk. That's not as much calorie difference, but it's still a change. Or other things you might be doing is it might be your snack, or it might be your portion size. And so figuring out the area in your life where you feel like, okay, this is where I could cut back a little bit. I don't have to cut back a lot, but maybe you cut back on one area of it. Or maybe you're like, well, I could probably walk for another 10 to 15 minutes one night, or 1 or 2 nights a week. That wouldn't be that big of a deal. And then the other nights of the week, do something different where maybe you're cutting back on your snack foods. Or that's when you cut back on your foods. Maybe that's the night you don't have a dessert. So things like that. So on page number 5, there is a list that talks about 25 snacks that are under 100 calories. Some of these are healthy option snacks. Some of these are not. And so you're going to have to decide what is worth it. So is a can of Coca-Cola worth the 100 calories that you're going to be getting for the small can? Or would you rather be able to eat a cup of carrots with some ranch dip and have a slice of string cheese? Figuring out what is worth it for you for the calories. Because some people may be more about the quantity of food, but there may be days that all you want to eat is something sweet and you just want some chocolate. And so maybe that piece of Dove chocolate with a cup of milk would be a better option than eating the more higher quantity of food. So there's a bunch of different options on here. When I encourage people to eat snacks, I think I probably told you guys all this before, but I'm going to tell you again. I like to encourage people to do a protein and a carbohydrate. So that protein can be anything from a thing of string cheese, cottage cheese, beef jerky if you're not on a low sodium diet, a cup of milk, a yogurt, it could even be some chicken or something like that for a snack, or some deli meat if you're not watching your sodium again. So that could be your protein source. It could be peanut butter as well. And then your carbohydrate could be your fruit, or it can be a slice of bread, or it could be any type of like snacky carb. Let's see if I can find one on here for us. Popcorn would be good. Let's see. This one has a banana dipped in chocolate, and that's frozen. That would be something that would be really good. It's a little healthy treat. I also like to put grapes in the freezer. Any type of fruit frozen is going to be fabulous. Okay, so just trying to pair up that fruit, and you can also do non-starchy carby vegetables, so carrots, broccoli, celery, cauliflower, tomatoes, cucumbers, any of those that you would normally like dip in a ranch, do that and then add a protein to it. So if all you're doing is having a fruit or a vegetable, you're only going to be staying full for about 30 to 45 minutes. After that, it's going to be gone and all used up. So making sure that you're pairing it with some form of protein as well. Ways to take in less calories. So using cooking sprays or non-stick cookware, water or stock. So if you're making cooked spinach, maybe you're going to do, instead of spraying your pan, maybe you add a little bit of water to it. Or even maybe instead of adding butter to it, you do water. And then maybe add a little bit more different seasonings to it. The same goes for, you can like steam your vegetables rather than like putting butter on them. Other things too, in order to replace butter and oil in your baked goods, you can ground up veggies or fruit with no added sugar. So I really like to make banana bread. It's one of my favorite little treats. And what I like to do is I like to add in another banana, and I also add in a half a cup of applesauce to my banana bread. And so then what I do is I cut back on my fat, and I also reduce it down to a half a cup of sugar for the whole loaf. And sometimes I'll even do less if I know I'm the only one eating it. And then I think it tastes good. Sometimes I'll add like dark chocolate chips to it as well, and so that does sweeten it up a bit. But by adding an extra banana and that applesauce, it adds a little bit more sweetness to it, and you can reduce your fat and your sugar with natural sugar. So those are other things too. Other ways they talk about here is switching to like non-fat yogurt or non-fat cottage cheese. Those are just kind of easy ways that you can reduce those calories, or doing veggie or fruit juice with no added sugar. Yeah, so if you are going to be drinking fruit juice, then I do encourage you to make sure you're getting the 100% juicy juice or the 100% juice or the V8 veggie juice. That's a good option. And then lastly, replacing those fatty sauces with different sauces. So these have mention of like a hot sauce or a hummus, lemon juice. So making your own dressings. I like to make my own dressing by just pouring olive oil on top of it, doing a little bit of pepper with it, and sometimes some lemon juice. Now, if I'm getting real fancy, I will add in like mustard and a little bit of honey to it with the olive oil, and that's really good. Other things too you can do is you can use non-fat plain yogurt, Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. And this also has salsa, so dipping your fruits and veggies in salsa instead of in like a regular ranch dressing is pretty good and tasty as well. And then on page 7 it continues and it talks about replacing your sweet drinks. So replacing any of those Starbucks drinks or even just coffee shop drinks. Replacing, if you're drinking a lot of fruit juice, filling that up maybe half with water. I don't feel like this is much of an issue with a lot of you guys. I think most of you guys really drink mostly water or unsweet iced tea, which is really great. Black coffee is fine as well. But if you do want a little bit of flavor, adding some lemon, lime, or mint to things is really good. Doing a little bit of sparkling water with a little bit of 100% fruit juice. Okay, so these are really important. So the next bit it talks about is controlling your portion sizes. I think that this is really hard. One, because at first we like to measure our food because we're so motivated. We want to lose weight. And then you're 16 weeks in and like you don't want to measure your food anymore. So it can get hard. But I do want to encourage you that if you do find that you are stalling, to go back and start measuring that food again. It doesn't have to be every single thing, but measuring the foods that have calories in them. So measuring your entrees or measuring your pizza or measuring your spaghetti, measuring your macaroni and cheese, those things. You can eat your weight and as much broccoli or cauliflower or carrots that you want to eat. But when it comes to your calorically dense foods, those are the ones that you would more want to measure. Especially if you're eating like things like cereal, oatmeal, those can be really, really calorie dense. Using smaller plates is a good idea. Pay attention to your serving sizes. Plan your snacks and meals. Plan. Planning is hard. It takes time. And it has to be a priority. If you want to reduce the amount of times you're eating out, if you want to reduce just driving through a drive-thru because you don't have food, you have to plan. And there's no way around it, unfortunately. So making sure that you are planning those meals so that you have them available. And then the last page, page 8, it does talk about different ways to get different amounts of exercise, whether it's through household chores or sports. And there's a lot of different activities on here. So I want to encourage you maybe to try something new. Try something that you've never done before. If you don't normally like to dance, maybe try dancing. See if it is more fun than you last remember. You can do it in your bedroom with your door closed. Nobody has to see you. Because then it doesn't matter what you look like if nobody's watching. Not that it matters anyways, but I know that sometimes we can all be a little sensitive or paranoid about what we look like. So doing other things too that maybe you would like to try. Maybe it's jumping rope with your kids or teaching them how to jump rope, teaching them how to ride a bike, things like that so that they can do it with you. Okay. Well, I know that this was a pretty short video. It was only about 15, 17 minutes long. So before we finish, actually, there's one more thing I would like to do. We've kind of gone over all of these different things that you can, like, do. So maybe it's eating less, or maybe it is exercising more. But trying to find the root cause of have you gotten off a track? Has your weight loss stalled? Not necessarily because you need to reduce your calories, but maybe you need to maybe you need to go back to what you were doing before. Maybe you've fallen off the wagon a little bit and you've started drinking sodas again, or things like that. So take a second out and figure out what has caused you to get off course. What is the root cause? Okay, now I want you to come up with options for solving this problem. Okay, so these are going to feel very familiar. It's going to feel like we're setting a goal, but figure out what went wrong. Now figure out how to solve that problem. What are some things that you can do to make sure that doesn't happen again? Okay, next, choose the best option. Which of these things that you just wrote down, and if you need more time, just pause my voice and keep writing. But which of these is the best options? Maybe circle it, star it, underline it, highlight it. So many different ways that you can show yourself that it's important. And then make an action plan. So what are you going to do? This can be your goal for the week. What are you going to do to get back on track? And maybe it's that your week has been crazy. It's only Tuesday right now when I'm recording this, and my week has already been crazy. And so sometimes I have to change my plan. I have to change what I had planned on doing in order to make a meal. And sometimes that's not an option. But the good news is I like to keep backup food in my freezer so that when life does get crazy and I go do something that I hadn't planned on doing, that I can just grab something out of the freezer and then I can take that for lunch in the morning. So that kind of gives me a day. So then I didn't have to go out to eat, or I didn't have to pack something unhealthy for lunch. Instead, I had some soup already made in the freezer. So once you've written down your action plan, the next step is trying it out. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today, is that these are the steps of how you can help, hopefully, get that weight loss back on track. And I want to encourage you and keep going, because you're doing great. You guys are all doing great. And so just keep making those small changes, and eventually it will all get a little bit easier. This is all I've got, and I'll see you guys next week. Okay, bye.